Hey, thank you so much for checking out the channel. I'm going to blast right through this for you. This is an extremely important video. If you want to know which heroes to be using against the Blue Titans, you need to first understand how the order and how it progresses. First and foremost, you always want to set your team up from left to right. So when I'm going through and I'm explaining these heroes, I'm going from the first slot all the way over to the very far left, all the way to the right on the 5th slot there. The reason why I have it set up that way is for muscle memory. You want to make sure that your stack on your heroes against the Titan is correctly going from left to right, and you're also not putting yourself in a position, if you're using a hero like Wukong or Ranvir to get really high Titan scores, that you're not having those miss with their abilities. So you always want to build everything from left to right. So starting off in slot number 1, it's going to be what I call the elemental defensive down. Elemental defensive down is extremely important. It's the very first thing that you deal, the very first part of the stack of the Titan, and it's incredibly important, especially if you don't have another hero that is not doing damage but contributes to the Titan stack. If you're looking for an awesome new dark fantasy RPG, you've got to check out the sponsor of this video, Raid Shadow Legends. They got you battling through the campaign mode, the PvP arena, the dungeons, the keeps. It's going to be a lot of entertainment for a lot of time. What I love about Raid Shadow Legends is their amazing graphics and the attention to detail. They clearly spend some time on giving you a visual experience. And what's even better is you can take these 3-star little champions, you pound them all the way up to 6 stars, and suddenly they become relevant even in the end game, and it's pretty amazing there. And it's even better that they are really liberal on the free-to-play community, so if you don't have a whole bunch of money to throw at a mobile game, it really satisfies your nature to play a game that doesn't break you too much on your bank. And for new content, Raid just dropped the Doom Tower. You got all these difficult enemies and bosses. You got to fight your way all the way to the very top. You got all these unique challenges and conditions of play that you got to worry about, discovering these secret rooms, and you win material for your forge items to make your guys a whole lot better. It's also pretty amazing because the graphics are insane. So if you want to check out one of the sickest games ever and get a huge head start in Raid, all you got to do, click the link in the description. If you're a new player, you get a 1-day XP boost, 3 Raid Flasks, 1 Ancient Shard, 1 Void Champion Bulwark, and 50 gems. All your treasure, it's waiting for you right over here. Thanks for everything, Raid Shadow Legends. Let me dive back into the Titan video for you guys. So you always want to start off with your elemental defensive down. And for the Blue Titans, you want to be bringing green heroes. Green is strong against blue. So there's only 2 heroes right now that give elemental defensive down. Currently, number 1 is going to be Evelyn. Evelyn's super important. Not to mention she's got pretty decent tile damage at 727, but she's going to give the target nearby enemies getting minus 54% defense against nature for 4 turns. That's why she's extremely critical to be using against the Blue Titans, because she gives elemental defensive down, and it does stack with regular defensive down characters. So she also helps out with removing some buffs if they've got them, and then she helps out with a little bit with the recovering when you've got the elemental link. Next up on this list is going to be Almur. Almur is, again, an extremely important hero. Although he is a 4-star, it's what gives the elemental defensive down, again, running at fast speed. He's giving minus 54% elemental defensive down, so he's extremely important. If you have to pick between the 2, obviously you're going to choose the Evelyn. She's going to give the elemental link that's going to help you out a little bit. Now, next up in the stack is what I would consider the regular defensive down. So slot number 1, elemental defensive down. Next slot is going to be the regular defensive down. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hey, Anchor, I don't have Evelyn, I don't have Almur. So what you want to do is you want to pair up double defensive down characters. So you want to have the regular defensive down. You can set up multiple of those, but just keep in mind that they stack against each other. They don't stack up. So if you have double buddy, you're not going to get a whole bunch of defensive down or whatever. Whatever the last regular defensive down character that you fire is going to be what the Titan gets. So number 1 on this list for the regular defensive down is going to be Frigg. She just got released. Really important. She's going to give all enemies getting minus 8% defense and further 4% decrease for each nature shield, all the way up to 44%. So I think it's around like 8 or so tiles that you're maxing out. So once you fire Frigg off, you want to have a bunch of tiles on the board, and it's going to get the minus defensive down, which is really, really going to help out quite a bit. Again, Frigg and Evelyn stacked together. They work in conjunction with each other because they're 2 separate types of defensive down. So next up on this list is going to be Buddy. I really love this hero. I just released the hero breakdown on him. It's pretty awesome. And with him, he's going to give the, not only is he going to give the defensive down of 34% for 3 turns, but he also gives the attack down by 24% for 3 turns. So he's helping out doubly, and he also has really amazing defensive stats, and his health total is also amazing too. So he's going to stay alive quite a bit against those high level Titans. I use Buddy all the time. I love him against blue Titans because he's giving the attack and the regular defensive down. And then not to mention, the dude also helps out by throwing out some minions. So that's really cool too. I love Buddy. He's a great hero for defensive down. Next up on this list is going to be Brienne costume. The costume version of Brienne is super awesome because what she does is she's going to give the 41%, and then she further decreases every time they're hit for 4 turns. So you throw all those dead tiles into the Titan after she goes off. I think she ends up stacking out at like 65%, which is insane. So you throw some emblems on her, and you definitely have some survivability that you could be rocking with Brienne of her costume version. Next up is what I would call kind of the subpar heroes. If you don't have those heroes, maybe you're stretching a little bit and you need some different characters. So another defensive down character you could be doing is Berden costume. Dude gives a minus 34% against defense or for defense for 6 turns. So he's going to give the defense for 6 turns. And then another one on this list is going to be Isshtak, which he's going to give the minus 44% defense, but it is only for 4 turns. So those are kind of what I would consider the subpar. Reason why they're subpars are 3-star heroes, and they're probably going to die pretty quickly unless you're the type that's going to throw a whole bunch of mana pots into your guys before you fire off on the Titan. Now what I would consider, this is the third spot on the Titan stack. Okay, these are going to be characters that are going to be helping out with either like attack power increase, critical chance. They're going to be giving attack power decrease on the enemy. They're just going to be overall characters that are going to be helping out and giving you a high stack damage against the Titan. So number 1 on this list is going to be Ratoskr. So typically you want to have elemental defensive down, attack power increase, and then what I consider like the high tile damage spot. So Ratoskr helps out a tremendous amount when it comes to giving the attack power increase. He gives up to 64% attack. So when he fires off, all of your nature little emblems that are on the board, they get an increased 64% attack, and it makes it so you can have a lot of high attacks. Don't really care too much about the recovering of the health. It does help out a little bit, but why he's so important is going to be giving the enhanced shields of 64%. Next up on this list is one of my personal favorite heroes against blue Titans. I've been using this guy since pretty much day 1, is Gregorion. And what's really awesome about Gregorion is he's giving all allies plus 30% critical chance for 3 turns. So this is another one of those stacks that is also really important for getting the high scores against Titans, because you're going to get the critical chance. Critical chance is pretty much the probability that you're going to double the damage from your tiles. So you'll see sometimes you'll have a strong hit when it hits into the Titan. The critical chance is what determines to where you get double the damage of your tiles. So Gregorion also really important, giving that 30% critical chance. The elemental link helps out a little bit, but it's the critical chance that makes him so amazing. Next up on this list is, again, another one of my favorite characters is going to be Kingston. Kingston really helps out in terms of survivability. He keeps your guys alive by giving the minus 31% attack, and then it also further decreases every time they're hit. So you throw those dead tiles that are not green into the Titan after he fires off, and again gives you a massive situation to where the Titan isn't going to be doing much damage at all and keeping your guys alive, and then also helping out with the elemental link, especially with him running at fast speed. A really awesome hero against Titans. Next up on this list, this is actually one of those weird ones that I didn't figure would make the list, but absolutely does, is going to be Horghall costume. The costume version gives minus 54% attack for 6 turns. That's a long time. He's going to keep you guys alive. Obviously, with him running at slow speed, he's pretty awesome. The regular version will fit in a little bit if you have to. It's only going to be the 34% attack for 6 turns, but probably not my first choice. Next up on this list, oddly enough, is going to be Skittleskull costume, which Skittleskull costume has 778 on his attack, which is really impressive. But then again, he's giving the minus 39% attack for 6 turns, so a little bit less than Horghall, still running at slow speed, but he's got a higher attack increase. Next on this is kind of like the subpar heroes. These are heroes that you can throw in if you don't have the other heroes in this spot, and it would be Gadeirus. Gadeirus helps it out to where he's similar to an Ares, but in green at slow speed. He's setting up so he deals damage to the target, but he's going to be giving the plus 48% attack for 4 turns, and then the caster nearby allies regenerate 612 over 4 turns. Where he's really important is that he's going to give that attack power increase, and this does stack with Ratoskr, so you can use them in conjunction because Ratoskr enhances the shields themselves, where he enhances the attack damage of the character and the surrounding allies, so you can use them in conjunction with each other. Next up on this list on the subpar is going to be Brienne, the regular Brienne version. Now, it's really important to know that if you have Brienne, you want to keep 2 of them, especially if you have the costume version. You want to level up a regular version as well as a costume version, because the regular version of Brienne and the costume version work together in conjunction with each other. Brienne costumes helping out with the defensive down, and then the regular version, Brienne, is just giving you astronomical attack power increase. It's going to give the 45% and then increase by 20% every time they're hit for 5 turns. So anytime you're hit, you're going to be getting an increase. But still, 45% is pretty amazing for all your characters to be getting. But again, very, very soft, so she could die pretty easily. And then next up on this list is going to be Melendor costume, which is really weird to have a Melendor on your Titan team, but he is one of those characters that gives the defensive up. So he's going to be giving 46% defense for 3 turns. Now, if you are using Melendor costume, you want to put him in the first slot because obviously he's not dealing damage. So that's one of those exceptions to the rule that if the character doesn't deal damage, you're going to put him in the first spot. But probably not my first choice against a Titan, but could help out with the 46%. That's why it makes a subpar list. Next up on this list is going to be Brynhild, which is kind of weird to have him on this, or have her on this, because she's doing a lot of different she deals a lot of different special abilities, but unfortunately none of those really help out in getting really high scores against the Titans. So she's going to help out with the mana generation. She's also setting it up so you're getting the special skills increase for the defense, and then also setting it up so you're giving immunity to dispels for 3 turns. So probably not my first bet, but I guess you could throw it in to help out with the mana generation. And then another character that is in that subpar list is going to be Grevle, which he gives all allies get plus 30% attack for 4 turns. The boosted health, it does help out a little bit, but pretty much where Grevle is somewhat useful against the Titan is the fact that it gives the attack power increase. And then another subpar hero that you could potentially use is going to be Beowulf. Obviously, he's pretty awesome at what he does. He's giving the attack power increase to the target nearby enemies. He's also giving the defense of 46%, and then also recovering health. And then what ends up happening is after he does that, he gets the negative side effect that happens to him. So something you could potentially use, but probably not my first choice. Next, getting into this is what I consider the next spot on your Titan team, which is going to be spot number 4, which is going to be your high tile damage spot. Now, it is important to know that this 4th spot is reserved for either characters that have really high tile damage or a crossover of slot number 3 that you just need good stacks, because some of the colors have just really good characters that can blend into the 4th spot. It's important to have heroes that are going to be helping out your stack more than the high tile damage spot. So for instance, on the blue Titan, a character like Gregorion and Ratoskr, those are really important, so I would use them in conjunction with each other and then drop kind of, rather than worry about having the high tile damage spot. I've got those 2 because getting the critical chance as well as the increased attack power is going to be really important for the tiles. So if you don't have kind of a conflict, you could potentially switch over to characters that have high tile damage. And these characters that are in the high tile damage might be characters that I'm not going to list because you have them emblemed up. So first up on this list is going to be Lady Locke. Lady Locke has 805 on her attack, which is really, really ridiculous. And then she's also helping out to where she's dispelling So that could be another situation where you're using her. Pretty cool there. And then next up on this list is going to be Zeline. Zeline, another character that has 764 on her attack, which is really, really high up there. And then she's also setting herself up to where she's giving the decrease of attack by 34% for 4 turns, running at fast speed. So I could see that maybe she makes that position being in there to be helping out. Next up on this is going to be Margaret. She's got, I think, close to the highest high tile damage spot in all of the green characters. She's got 821 on her attack. She's also setting it up so she dodges any damage that's dealt to you. Obviously, Titans deal a lot of damage, so you've got a really high chance of dodging, and that helps out quite a bit. And then she's also setting up so she deals a little bit of damage, but where she could fit in on a Titan is going to be your high tile damage spot at 821. And then also Francine, a brand new one that just came out. She's got 780 on her tile damage, and then she's also setting it up so she can cleanse every 3 turns. So if you need to make sure that you cleanse the defensive effect that the blue Titan throws at you, she's going to be cleansing. Helps out a little bit possibly on there. Next is the last spot on the Titan. So this is the very, very far corner. Now, what's important to know is it actually doesn't make too much of a difference where this next character is going to be on your board because he only impacts your tiles. So I always have my Titan team built from left to right, just for memory's sake, for muscle memory. It doesn't really matter where he's positioned, but I do like having him all the way to the very far right because that leaves you least susceptible for the Titan to be dealing damage to you when it's dealing damage to target and multiple enemies. So that is kind of one of those things that I just always put the more vulnerable or the more important heroes all the way to the very far right or very far left. So with Tarlak is absolutely essential. You're going to need to make sure that of the heroes that I list coming up in this list, they have to make your Titan team. I know you may be frustrated with them, but you have to have this spot if you want to achieve high scores against your Titans. Okay, so Tarlak is extremely important because what he does is he gives plus 100% normal attack for 4 turns, and then you can stack. So he does stack with like Brienne regular Brienne. They stack together because he gives a special attack power increase. I know it doesn't really make that much sense, but he does stack with characters that give attack increase. So like Beowulf and Tarlak, those stack together. But he's going to be giving the 100% attack for everybody. Obviously does help out a little bit with the mana generation, but Tarlak, again, especially being green, is going to be really, really important being in your stack. Now, if you don't have Tarlak, the obvious one that you could be using is Miki. Miki is an absolute all-star against the Titans. I know even though he is blue, he's going to be really important if you don't have Tarlak because, again, you're getting the plus 130% normal attack and only applies when the enemy has more life, which obviously the Titan always has more life than you. So you're going to be getting that huge attack increase. Now, I know people might be saying, do I use Miki or Tarlak? Obviously, Miki's more. I like choosing Tarlak because that keeps my color stack green, which is going to set it up so I'm going to be dealing more damage on my tiles. Next up on this list is going to be Ranvir. If you don't have Miki or Tarlak, you could definitely be using Ranvir. Ranvir is really important because he's going to get the plus 195% attack, but also giving you the decrease on your abilities and your tile damage. So I know that it's really annoying when stuff misses, but you have to have the high increase on your attack, and that's why Ranvir makes this list. And then the next one, everybody's favorite, Wukong. Wukong still absolutely essential if you don't have those other 3 characters because he's going to give the plus 185% attack with a decrease for 5 turns. It's definitely annoying, but you're going to have really, really high scores with your Titan team. So that makes up the list. Make sure you watch the other videos because I've actually made videos on the other colors. So I'll have those up as well too. And thank you so much for watching this content. Please make sure you subscribe. You turn those notifications on, and I'll see you on the next video.